The Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Education, Professor George Magoha, the Principal Secretary, State Department of Basic Education and Early Learning, Dr. Julius Juan, the Principal Secretary, State Department of Implementation of Curriculum Reforms, Professor Fatuma Chege, the Secretary and CEO, the Teacher Service Commission, Dr. Nancy Macharia, the CEO NEC, Dr. David Njengere, the members of the NEC Council present, the staff of the Kenya National Examinations Council, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. May I take this opportunity to welcome all of you once again to Mitihani House for the release of the results for the 2021 Kcpe examination candidates. Before proceeding with my speech, I would like to introduce the council members present and apologize on behalf of the other council members who are out in the field because KCSE is going on. One, Dr. Julius Juan. Council member, please. Thank you. Dr. Nancy Macharia. Professor Charles Ongondo. Colonel Retired Leonard Owambo. The rest of the council members are out there, but I'll mention their names. Dr. Mary Gaturu, Mr. Festus Kingori, Mrs. Rosemary Saina, Mr. Martin Okio, Professor Eric Okoth Ogur, and Dr. Fred Ochogo Spotter. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to state that as a council and in conjunction with the technical team of NEC, we have been reviewing our processes to enhance efficiency in the process of administering examinations and assessment. In particular, NEC has been working round the clock in the 2022, in the year 2022, being a unique year because in October and November 2022, NEC will be administering grade 6 assessment alongside the 2022 Kcpe and the KCSE examinations. NEC has been putting in place all the requisite arrangements to enable concurrent administration of examinations and assessments in both the 844 and 2633 education systems. I wish to assure our Cabinet Secretary and the Kenyans at large that NEC will deliver as expected. For the 2021 Kcpe and the KCSE examinations, I wish to report that the innovations NEC put in place have yielded gains towards effective examination administration. One of the innovations put in place, which the CEO has just alluded to, was that of having examination centers with less than 30 candidates being hosted by larger centers. This practice had been in force previously, but on a small scale, and I wish to report that it has enhanced cost effectiveness in the process. My council wishes to assure all stakeholders that any isolated challenges experienced in regard or with regard to the centers being hosted will be addressed to ensure that the initiative is implemented with the full success in subsequent examinations. With regard to the internal processes of examination administration, I am pleased to report that NEC conducted all its processes in utmost observance of the laid down regulations, confidentiality, and security consciousness. This enabled the NEC to deliver quality examinations materials to the distribution centers in the whole country. I therefore wish to urge all players and stakeholders involved in the examination administration process and especially center managers, supervisors, invigilators, and security officers to act responsibly to uphold the integrity of the examinations. NEC will continue working closely with the security agencies to ensure vigilance throughout the period of national examinations. Our goal remains to completely eradicate cartels who continue to cheat candidates that they will aid them in examination cheating. As I conclude my remarks, I wish to acknowledge those who have supported the NEC Council to deliver its mandate this far, starting with our Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Education, Professor George Magoha, for spearheading the process to ensure that the standards he set as a Council Chairman are maintained from 2016 to date. I also recognize the critical role played by all other education-related agencies and stakeholders who have worked closely with the NEC throughout the year. As a council, we continue to appeal to all stakeholders, including students, parents, teachers, unions, associations, media, and the general public to marshal support in stemming out attempted examination malpractice. I assure Kenyans that the NEC Council shall employ all means within its ability to ensure that certification of Kenyan education system remains credible, valid, and reliable. I now wish to invite the Principal Secretary to make his remarks, and I invite the Cabinet Secretary. Yes, sir. Oh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nsati, the Chair, NEC Council, to our Cabinet Secretary, CEO TSC, my colleague, Professor Chege, all protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have remarks to make because the Cabinet Secretary will cover all the areas that we need to cover. But as Mr. Chich said earlier, allow me to acknowledge our colleagues who have joined us today so that we appreciate their presence. Let me start internally with the directors from the Ministry of Education who are here. I saw Mr. Kangera, Mr. Kcpe, and Mr. Rukaria. Thank you very much for coming. We have directors from the Teacher Service Commission. I know the CEO will mention them, but allow me also to tell them to stand. I saw Madam Rotich, I've seen Dr. Zamburi, and our Regional TSC Director of Nairobi. Thank you very much for joining us. The directors from NEC had already been introduced, but allow me to ask you to stand again as part of the team that really made this process a success, wherever they are sitting. Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. We don't take it for granted. Before I come to our colleagues from the unions and associations, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to specially give a special recognition to our multi-agency team who did a wonderful work, and especially the security officers. I know Commissioner Picho is not here, but allow me to mention his name because he's done and coordinated our work wonderfully. We have many others here whom I will not mention their names, but they've done a wonderful job. Mr. Julius Mukwe from the Ministry of Interior, I think you are sitting somewhere. Thank you very much for the coordination that we have. Let me now mention the presence of Mr. Oyu, who is the Secretary Nat. I think you can wave so that. Thank you very much. We have Mr. Kelo Misori of Kcpe. Thank you very much. We have Mr. Nzioka, who is the chair, Kenya Primary Health Association. Thank you very much. I don't know whether there is anybody else I've left out. Good, thank you very much. Colleagues, as I appreciate the multi-agency team that handled and still continue to help us handling the examinations process, we also need to urge and continue encouraging all of us that because exams are still going on, that we struggle and ensure that we maintain the integrity of the examinations process. Because I was not supposed to make remarks, allow me at this stage, before I invite the COTSE, to very graciously thank our teachers. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had a very tight year, which was quite compact, required a lot of dedication, and we don't take it for granted that our teachers kept our learners in school until we came to the end of the academic year. Allow me at this stage to invite Dr. Nancy Macharia, the COTSE, to make her remarks. Thereafter, I will invite the Cabinet Secretary to make his remarks and finally release the results for 2021 Kcpe results. Karibu sana, Madam Nancy.
Thank you, PS, our Cabinet Secretary, colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the press. Allow me to make my very brief remarks, and Cabinet Secretary, I don't have to introduce my team. The PS has done that. We are here today to celebrate a special group of 1.2 million candidates who will be joining Form 1. On behalf of the Teacher Service Commission, I congratulate the Kcpe class of 2021 and assure them that our teachers are very prepared to receive all of them in secondary school next term. I thank all our teachers, including those who took part in the invigilation, supervision, and marking for their credible efforts that made the 2021 class ready for Kcpe examinations during an academic year that was heavily shortened. Overall, I wish to report that nearly all the teachers that were involved in the examination conducted themselves with utmost professionalism during the Kcpe examination process. This is testimony to the fact that our teachers are determined to ensure a credible examination in our schools. I congratulate all of them and encourage them to keep up with the good spirit as per the Code of Regulation for Teachers. As a commission, we will recognize and reward those who excelled in the process in line with the performance recognition, reward, and sanctions policy. Ladies and gentlemen, during the 2020 examinations, we rewarded 30 teachers who stood out in various aspects of Kcpe and KCSE administration, some of whom even received awards under the Presidential Reward System, and we want to thank the President for rewarding our teachers. It acts as a motivation. On the same note, the TSC will act firmly and expeditiously on those teachers who will be found guilty of aiding in examination irregularities. And so, as a commission, we are waiting for the minister to release the examinations, and the NEC should tell us if any of our teachers was actually involved in any irregularities, and we shall take firm action on them. As we have said in the past, as a commission, we will not allow a few teachers to mar the good name of the teaching service. As a commission, we thank the government for funding resources to allow us to recruit an average of 5,000 teachers annually for our public schools. However, we still have a shortage of 114,581 teachers in primary and post-primary institutions due to the increased enrollment arising from the 100% transition policy and registration of new schools. Despite the shortage, the Commission continues to ensure prudent utilization of the existing teachers in both primary and secondary schools. From time to time, we have had to review staffing placements to ensure no part of our country is disadvantaged in terms of sharing the limited teaching resources. And in line with this, the Commission will shortly be asking our field officers to do a routine exercise of assessing their sub-counties to ensure that all schools have balanced teacher-to-learner ratios ahead of the start of the new academic calendar year. So arising from this, any movements conducted at the local areas must have a human face and must be well discussed with all relevant offices to ensure equity for all of our learners in tandem with the existing staffing norms. We intend to conclude this staff balancing exercise by May 9th of 2022. Lastly, the TSC has continued to prepare all teachers for the phased implementation of CBC. So far, we have consistently ensured that relevant teachers were trained for all levels, including grade 6, which will be covered starting next month. The total of teachers trained in CBC in the last 3 years is 292 teachers. I now wish to announce that the Commission has planned the training of 60,000 teachers in April for juniors to prepare teachers for the junior secondary schools in CBC and competency-based assessment with effect from the 25th of April, immediately after the completion of the marking of the KCSE exams. The training will adopt a phased or cascade model of training that will start at the national level to the county and sub-county levels. Teachers will be trained in specific learning areas in languages, pure sciences, applied sciences, mathematics, humanities, and technical subjects. And the training will involve special needs education teachers. It will also involve private schools to prepare our teachers for junior secondary. In conclusion, I once again thank all our teachers for their selfless efforts in preparing the candidates for the Kcpe examinations and wish them well as we continue with the current examinations and even preparing our students for the December examinations, God willing, that we shall still conduct. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, CEO. Ladies and gentlemen, as I indicated earlier, we are trying to make this as brief as possible because we still have examinations going on, and also not to, reduce the anxiety of our candidates. Now, I'm informed that we have a representative from the Kenya Private Schools Association, Mr. Bande Simon, wherever you are. Oh, thank you very much for coming. I think at this stage, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to have the privilege to invite our Cabinet Secretary, Professor George Magoha, to come and address us and the country and then release the results for Kcpe 2021. Karibu sana waziri.
the way I want. God is good, and all the time. I just would like to recognize my CS, Dr. Sarah Ruto, who is here in spirit because she has lost her father, and the rest of the protocol is as observed by the Principal Secretary. My statement to the country today is perhaps the most solemn and significant since I joined this ministry more than 3 years ago. I stand here today to release the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education (Kcpe) examination, which is important to us in 2 ways. One, it is the last examination which is being released under the Jubilee administration of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, a regime that has seen a 6-year run of the most clean and flawless national examination campaigns that have restored the integrity and credibility of our national certification system. 2, these Kcpe examination results we are releasing today will be the second last before we fully transition into the competency-based assessments under the competency-based curriculum in 2023. I therefore am very proud and thankful to the Lord and His Excellency the President to have allowed me to serve for the last 6 years, 3 as Cabinet Secretary, and incidentally, very strangely, the longest Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Education under the Jubilee administration, and the other 3 years as Chair of the Kenya National Examination Council. I cannot take this for granted, this opportunity for granted. I am aware that there are very many other better qualified people. And I think His Excellency the President alone knows why he dared to select me to do this job. As I prepare to hand over the basic education mantle to my successor, which only God knows, I am proud of my record, and I remain confident that the lady or gentleman who will come after me will find a comfortable place to continue from. That is not to say that Jogo House is a place that is easy to work in. It is a place which does not require people who do not have a hardened heart and the personality to fight corruption. Let me outline a few of these milestones. The competency-based curriculum. As a government, we have done everything possible to midwife the transition of 844 to CBC. So far, the CBC has successfully been implemented up to grade 5. Next month, by the grace of God, the pioneers will join grade 6 and sit for their first national assessment later this year. These children have already spent 8 years in the competency-based curriculum. I wish to assure the country that all curriculum materials for grade 6 have been prepared and distributed to all public schools. As you have heard from the Teacher Service Commission CEO, Dr. Nancy Macharia, all relevant teachers have been trained to teach grade 6. So we are prepared for the rollout. And many more teachers will be trained. To be more specific, next month we shall train teachers for grades 7 and 8. But being Kenyans, you can be sure we'll be asking again and again, have the teachers been trained? Are the teachers there? Ahead of the start of the junior secondary school next year, the Ministry of Education, under the very competent leadership of His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, has constructed 6,000 497 new classrooms to accommodate CBC Pioneer class under the first phase at the cost of 5.123 billion shillings. The most important thing to note here is that each of these classrooms has costed only 788,000 shillings. So we must start asking ourselves, whether we like it or not, where has the 426,000 shillings extra been going to? Because most of the classrooms before this were constructed at 1.26 million. So we must give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. And I want to thank the President for being firm on us, saying that he was of the considered opinion that 788,000 can construct classrooms. I'm saying they are all completed because the few that are not complete are either at walling or roofing stage, and my team and I shall ensure that they are complete before the end of the exams. And then we shall embark on the phase 2 of the program, which is the balance of 3,503 classrooms. In fact, this morning I asked His Excellency the President to provide money for this, and the answer was in the affirmative. So before we leave office, ladies and gentlemen, whether anybody likes it or not, we shall have constructed 10,000 classrooms at 788,000 shillings each. And I think this should be a blueprint. And I want to ask members of the Fourth Estate to be making noise about this. If you are saying the same classes we are constructing at 788, where are you taking the balance of the money? I think Kenya is not a poor country. It is just that it has no good workers. There are many jobs, but there are no workers in Kenya. Are we together here? Because people work for their pockets. And I've just remembered, I want to recognize just one person. Yusuf, stand up so that they can see you. Everybody forgets about this young boy here called Yusuf. The fact that we were able to mark these exams quickly and on time, he's the last in the chain. So let's not judge people from where they are. But there are times he was sleeping at 4:30, and by 7:30 he's here. And we are now releasing the results. And you have seen all my leaders have forgotten him. I will not forget him. Thank you. All these preparations, ladies and gentlemen, make me extremely comfortable that my successor will find a good script to follow in the CBC implementation. But I want to dare say once again that this ministry is not a ministry for the faint-hearted. The education ministry is not a ministry for the faint-hearted, starting from Jogo House to the field and to your house. The competency-based assessment, as I already said before, the first grade 6 assessment is set to be administered in December of this year. It's expected that this national assessment will account for 40% of the candidates' final mark, while the remaining 60% will have come from the classroom teacher scores from school-based assessments of grade 4, 5, and 6. This new testing is expected to emphasize both formative and summative assessments, which hopefully will heavily reduce the nonsense cutthroat competition that we see witnessed under the 844 system, and heavily reduce incentives for cheating in examinations. And for the avoidance of doubt, even this examination I'm presenting you did not leak. Many of you would have hoped that it leaked so that you can provide things you are going to write about. But unfortunately, it did not leak. I also wish to assure my successor that I have ensured that the grade 6 national assessment is ready, and all that is required is to oversee the administration. My plea to the next government, whichever it is to encourage it to ensure continuous security of our examination process until the CBC is fully grounded. The administration of the December 22 examination will effectively mark the end of the rearranged academic calendar that was forced upon us by an external factor, COVID-19, occasioning the prolonged closure in 2020. Beginning of January 2023, our country will go back to the traditional academic calendar starting in January and ending in November of each year. I wish to thank the stakeholders, starting with the parents, the learners, and the teachers. But above all, I want to thank His Excellency the President for being bold enough to bite the bullets when everybody was singing the opposite song. I think in leadership, what I've learned from President Kenyatta is one thing, that decision-making process is perhaps the most important aspect of leadership. So he made a decision to bite the bullet, and while some people wasted up to 2 years, we are going to go back to normal in some months' time. I also do not want to forget our teachers, whom nobody can compensate them. So let me not hear teachers saying, oh, we are not being paid enough. Who the hell do you think is being paid enough? Nobody is paying me to work for 16 hours a day. So you should also do the same, and most of them are doing so. And we are proud of them, Dr. Macharia. And we pass that message to them. I want to thank the President for offering the ministry all the support out of the broad that has enabled us to carry the broad reforms. And let me be very fair to His Excellency the President. I don't look like the person who will praise anybody. I'm not a praiser. I will not shift from one party to another. In fact, I don't have a party. Are we together? But I want to recognize His Excellency the President for the manner in which he has handled me as a cabinet secretary. He has never given me instructions that confuse me, as if he's saying this and meaning this. Every instruction he has given me has been towards the poor of this nation. So no one can gainsay the fact that when the history of this country is written, President Kenyatta's contribution to the education sector will comprise a myriad of chapters. And you can take that to the bank, because it's not about politics. You can actually measure what has been done. The multi-agency examination administration, the successful administration of this exam for the last 6 years would not have been possible if we did not have a multi-agency approach, some of whom I will not name, some I will name because you see the policemen. Basically, I want to recognize, first of all, my fallen colleague, the late General Kcpe, who together with Fred Mitihani and Joe Mucheru started this process when I was recruited to work at another level. And we have continued to better the system, except that the Kenyans have refused to accept that the container system which we picked after I went around African countries, and we picked it in Uganda, has been watertight. The exam cannot leak. So I don't know, whoever says the exam has leaked, show us the paper the day before. It's a very simple thing they are doing, which even a man who failed the exam can do. Once the examination has left the container, then 1 or 2 teachers will go and take a photo and put it in the mtandao. But the children are already in the classroom. So now that we have stopped phones from going into classes, if you are stupid, continue to do so. And I want to warn here, ladies and gentlemen, I have a choice. My choice is to remain a cabinet secretary until tomorrow. If you choose to put your career